Hello viewers, how are you? This is our channel HEEDWAY IELTS, and this channel is very helpful for every students and the learners all over the world to get helpful tips and strategical solutions for going very good level in IELTS preparations or for the IELTS exam. And today I will show you some knowledge. Actually, I'll share you some knowledge about solving IELTS questions and getting good band score for your IELTS exam. Now, I will show you some strategies. Here we see a passage from Cambridge 7 test 1, and in this passage you see there are at least, you see 1 to 13 questions you'll have to answer. So today I will give you some tips here how to solve these answers, how to solve these questions easily. So actually in IELTS reading, what ways you must go is that, because for IELTS examinations you have only 20 minutes for a passage, and within this time you must have to answer all the questions of your passage. So you are on a race against time, so you must be very careful and also have to go the ways by which you can easily solve your questions and give answers. Okay, let us discuss about the strategies. For IELTS passes, you must go to some strategy. At first you have to see if there is any headline. In this passage we see there is a headline. Let's go for bats. Okay, so, and also we see a picture which shows bats flying at night for their living. So by these two pictures and writings, we can understand what the passage is. The passage is about bats. It's very clear. Then you put the passage and try to understand. After analyzing the headline, you must also try to see if there is any subheadline. In this passage we don't see any subheadline. Then you must have to read some sentences of the first paragraph to overview the passage. In this passage we see bats have a problem. In the first paragraph we see bats have a problem. How to find their way around in the dark. They hunt at night and cannot use light. We see cannot use light. Okay, cannot use light to help them find prey and avoid obstacles. You might say that this is a problem of their own making. Okay, one that they could avoid simply by changing their habits and hunting by day. But the daytime economy is already heavily exploited by other creatures such as birds. So this passage, from some sentences of the passage, we can understand how the bats and why the bats actually go for hunt at night. What is the reason behind this? Because they can hunt during the day. So we see that this type of situations will be discussed in this passage, and try to analyze all the sides of such kind of different ways of living of this kind of creatures. Okay, so when you see the first, the headline, subheadline, and the information of some sentences of the first paragraph, then you must go to the question patterns. What type of question patterns actually are given are given in IELTS preparations. We see these passages have three types of questions, question patterns. One pattern is 1 to 5. Here we see the information are given to match to match with the paragraph. First information is that examples of wildlife other than bats. Examples of wildlife other than bats. Which don't rely on visions to navigate by. And the second one, and how early mammals avoided dying out. Why bats hunt in the dark. How a particular discovery has helped our understanding of bats by this way. The last one is early military uses of echolocations. Okay, so you see that this type of questions are given here at the first pattern of the questions in the passage. Then we go a second type of pattern. This type of patterns involves in questions from 6 to 9. Here we see a short summary with some blanks, and also this should be on the passages where facial visions are given. Okay, then we go ahead. Okay, this passage also had a third type of questions, third patterns of questions. Here we see also some blanks, but this kind of blanks should be answered with the informations from the passage. So this can be called a complete the sentences below, completing sentence, missing some words and letters. Okay, so we see the passage has three types of patterns. Okay, so then what should we do? We must then underline the keywords of the questions. Okay, so we go the first one. The first question is examples of wildlife other than bats which do not rely on visions to navigate by. So why? What kind of words we must underline here? Examples of wildlife other than bats which do not rely on vision. So other than bats, not rely on visions to navigate. These two phrases, two collocated phrase is enough to understand the questions. Other than bats, not rely on vision. Get the keywords of the sentence. Then the second one, early mammals avoided. Here you must underline early mammals. So you have to remember the keywords, because this will be very helpful while you will go through the passage. You must remember the information of the questions, because when you go through the passage, in your brain this kind of keywords will kick and will make you pause. This kind of information is very needed to solve the question, so very careful here. Okay, the third one, why bats hunt in the dark. So okay, this is you can hear hunt, dark, enough, dark hunt. Okay, how a particular discovery has helped our understanding of bats. Here you must underline the discovery. One kind of discovery has been mentioned in the passage, so you must remember the discovery. You must remember there is a question on discovery, so which paragraph contains the discovery information, you must give this one here. Okay, then the number 5 questions is early mammals uses echolocations here. Sorry, early military uses of echolocations here. Okay, military. You must underline the keywords military here and echolocations also. Okay, then we go to the Third type of patterns of the questions. Okay, here we see the patterns of the questions is completing the sentences from 10 to 13. The first one is long before the invention of a rudder. Okay, here we specifically see the rudder. Okay, rudder. So the keyword is rudder. While in the passage we will be finding the sentences with rudder, then we see there is a questions. Long before the invention of rudder had resulted in sophisticated rudder-like system in bats. Okay, rudder. Where we find rudder, we start the informations of these questions matching with the passage. Rudder is an inaccurate term when referring to bats because dash are not used in their navigation system. So here rudder inaccuracy actually pinned down. So we must underline these words, rudder and sonar. Here we find two type of things, rudder and as well as sonar. So when we find sonar, then we think that there is a question also. The word echolocation was first used by someone. Okay, so used by someone, this is very important. The word echolocations and first used by someone working as a dash. Okay, working as a person who work in a profession, we must have to write down here. So what we have done already is that we know the keywords of the passage. So what we'll do now, we'll have to go to the passage again because you already know the informations, and go to the passage. Okay, and one by one we will give the answers and find out the locations. Okay, again we see 1 to 5, question 1 to 5 is totally to the whole passages, but we see from 6 to 9 the passage is very, this information must be located from the passage facial vision. So facial vision is very crucial here. Okay, and the next level of questions is long before the invention of rudder. So until we come to rudder, we will not focus the passage of this site. Okay, so let us start. Bats have a problem on how to find their way around in the dark. They hunt at night and cannot use their light to help them find prey and avoid obstacles. You might say that this is a problem of their own making, one that they could avoid simply by changing their habits and hunting by day. But the daytime economy is already heavily exploited by other creatures such as birds, given that there is a living to be made at night, and given that alternative daytime trades are thoroughly occupied. Natural selection has favored bats that make a go of the night hunting trade. It's probable that the nocturnal trades go way back in the ancestry of all mammals. So here we find the word mammals, and in the questions we must remember there was a questions on mammal. So okay, in the time when the dinosaurs dominated the daytime economy, our mammalian ancestors probably only managed to survive at all because they found ways of scrapping a living at night. Okay, only after the mysterious mass extinctions of the dinosaur about 65 million years ago were our ancestors able to emerge into the daylight in any substantial members. Okay, so from this paragraph what we see that at the first part of the paragraph we got the information of bats and why they go for hunting at night. That questions is mentioned here. Then we go to the generalization. Then we go to a generalization, is that you might say that this is a problem of their own making. Then we come to the dinosaurs who are dominating at the time all over the world. So the other creatures, I mean the mammals, they don't come. Actually, they did not come during the daytime because of dinosaurs. So there is a lacking for them. So we must go to the questions and try to understand, is there any questions here? Okay. Why bats hunt in the dark? Why bats hunt in the dark? There is a question 3. Particular this here we don't find any kind of discovery, and here in the first paragraph we don't find any kind of military uses. So at first, what should we do? We should have to be very careful in eliminating the information. So this last 4 and 5 100% are not matching here. And examples of wildlife other than bats which do not rely on. So okay, here we also don't find any kind of other creatures other than bats. Okay, no mention of any different species name. How early mammals avoided dying out? Okay, here we can see that this information can be matched, because in the passage first para, we see that when the dinosaur dominated the daytime economy, our mammalian ancestors probably not managed to survive at all, because they found ways of scrapping a living at night. So only after the mysterious mass extinction then we can understand. So here we see maybe these informations are matching here. So how early mammals avoided dying out can be matched. Total weight, let's check. Yes, so the questions 2 is matching with para 1 100%, because here we see the bats are avoiding dinosaurs who are dominating daytime. So that sentence is matching with the informations, because during the daytime if they come out, the dinosaur may kill them, so they avoid dying out. So this part of questions matching here. Okay, then we go to the second para. Bats have an engineering problem: how to find their way and find their prey in the absence of light. Bats are not the only creatures to face this difficulty today. Obviously, the night-flying insects that they prey on must find their way about somehow. Deep sea fish and whales have little or no light by day or by night. Fish and dolphins that live in extreme muddy water cannot see because although there is light, it is obstructed and scattered by the dark of the water. Plenty of other modern animals make their living in conditions where seeing is difficult or impossible. So what this para actually saying to us? The para is actually saying bats and other animals, other creatures who are not using light, but they can go by. So okay, we go to the questions and try to match any other information here. Okay. Examples of wildlife other than bats which do not rely on vision. 100% this one. How? Because bats side by side other wild animals, because from the passage we see From the passage we see into the paragraph 2, we see some names of deep sea fish, whales. We also see some animals like dolphins, etc. So this para must match with this one. Okay, then go to the next one. Okay, third para, given the questions of how to maneuver in the dark, what solutions might be an engineer consider? The first one that might occur to him is to manufacture light, to use a lantern or a searchlight. Fireflies and some fish, usually with the help of bacteria, have the power to manufacture their own light, but the process seems to consume a large amount of energy. Fireflies use their light for attracting mates. This doesn't require a prohibited amount of energy. A male's tiny prick of light can be seen by a female from some distance on a dark night, since her eyes are exposed directly to the light source itself. However, using light to find one's own way around requires vastly more energy, since the eyes have to detect the tiny fractions of the light that bounces off each part of the scene. The light source must therefore be immensely brighter if it is to be used as a headlight to illuminate the path than if it is to be used as a signal to others. In any event, whether or not the reason is the energy expense, it seems to be the case that, with the possible exceptions of some weird deep sea fish, no animal apart from man uses manufactured light to find its way about. So what this para actually saying why the bats are using, why the bats and other animals using their navigation system at nights. They use different ways, such as making lights and finding their paths also, but this can be very energy efficient. So this way actually not works. So what should we do? Okay, we go to the questions and see if there are any. Okay, why bats are in the dark? How a particular discovery, we don't find any kind of discovery. Are they military uses? We don't find any military uses. This 2-1 is already completed. Why bats hunt in the dark? Okay, this one also done. Early mammals avoided dying out. So number 3 questions, let's see. Okay, so paragraph C doesn't have any answer from A to 5. Okay, so we go to the next one, because next question patterns is on facial vision. So we go and read the passage, go through the passage until we find facial visions, then we go for the answers. Okay, para D. What else might the engineer think of? We blind humans, blind humans sometimes seem to have an uncanny sense of obstacles in their path. Okay, it has been given the name facial visions. Here we find the facial visions. We must remember there is a part in the questions, I mean totally a pattern on facial visions we also see. Okay, so facial visions is very important. We find it here because blind people have reported that it feels a bit like the sense of touch on the face. One report tells of a totally blind boy who could ride his bicycle, tricycle, at good speed around the block near his home using facial visions. Okay, experiments showed that in fact facial visions is nothing to do with touch or the front of the face, although the sensation may be referred to the front of the face, like the referred pain in the phantom limb. Okay, the sensation of facial visions, it turns out, really goes into the ears. Blind people, without even being aware of the fact, are actually using echoes of their own footsteps and of other sounds to sense the presence of obstacles. Before this was discovered, so here we find a word discovered, engineers had already built instruments to exploit the principle. For example, to measure the depth of the sea under a ship. After this technique had been invented, okay, so facial visions actually is from second sentence maybe to sixth sentence. Okay, this is locked here, so we go to the questions and try to see which one goes where. Okay, facial vision. Blind people report that so-called facial vision is comparable to the sensation of touch on the face. In fact, the sensation is more similar, okay, to the way in which pain from a dash arm or leg might be felt. And in the passage we see there is a collocations for this one, like this one, phantom limb. So limb is the part of the body, so I think this what will be given in the passage, in the question. So number 6 is phantom arm or leg, because limb covers arm or leg. This kind of synonyms is being using here, so 100% match. The ability actually comes from perceiving dash through the ears. Okay, we see ability actually comes from perceiving, to understanding something through the ears. So let's see the passage. And in IELTS you must remember that IELTS always go to their questions according to the sequential pattern. They go to the questions according to the passage, step by step, not making any any kinds of mismatch. Question is here and the passage there, so they always try to go for the order, maintaining order according to the passage. Questions maintain order. Okay, the sensation of facial vision, it turns out, really goes through the ears. Blind people, without even being aware of the fact, are actually using echoes. So here we find a word, echoes. They are using echoes of their own footsteps and of other sounds to sense the presence of obstacles. So let's see. Perceiving, this ability actually comes from perceiving echoes through the ears. So okay, this one, echoes, is the answer here. Echoes, because they're using echoes through ears. They are using echoes. So let's go to the next questions. Question number 8. Okay, however, even before this was understood, the principle had been applied in the design of instruments which calculated the dash of the seabed. Here you see the seabed, the bed of the ocean. Okay, so from the passage we see build instruments. Okay, fine. Before this was discovered, engineers had already built instruments to exploit the principle. For example, to measure the depth of the sea. So we see the seabed. Here we find the depth of the sea. So we can see, we can write here the sea depth. Okay, sea depth, calculated depth of the sea. Okay, this was followed by a wartime applications in devices for finding dash. Okay, what should they find? Search. Okay, after this technique had been invented, it was only a matter of time before weapons designers adopted it for the detections of submarines. Okay, here we find the detection of submarine. Okay, submarine. So this submarine should be found by this way. Okay, so here we can see in devices for finding submarines. Submarines can be answered in question 9. Okay, so let us go back to number, para D. If there is any questions from 5 to 10, any paragraph matching with the questions from 1 to 5, let's see. Okay, so what this para actually, see, we see one thing is that military use. Okay, so what this para actually shows us, military use. We see weapons designers, we find weapon designers, we see weapon designers. Okay, we see weapon designers. Okay, war, Second World War. So this kind of word actually denotes, actually tell us the war-like situations. And also in the war we always use military power. So this kind of hypothetical, this kind of synonymous words can sometimes be given in IELTS passage, so you must understand. So para D must go with the questions. Number 5, the question number 5, early military uses of echolocations. Military uses. Before the discovery, engineers had already built instruments to exploit the principle. For example, to measure the depth of the sea. After the technique had been invented, it was only a matter of time before weapon designer adopted the adoptions of detection of submarines, blah blah. So we must see that here we find the military uses for the war-like situations. Okay, that's it. Today I am giving you the lessons here. I must stop. And if you need any kind of other questions, information, you must contact us. In my channel you will find my contact numbers and email into my contact box, so you must come and see and contact with me to get the deeper understanding of IELTS reading. At the time I will teach you man to man, and I think you will be very helpful in IELTS. You will get very good band score, so you must come to have some tuition from me. That will be very helpful, I think, for you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay.